Hello, 4th grade. Welcome to today's math lesson. We are going to be solving equations similar to yesterday, except instead of doing adding and subtracting, we'll be using multiplication and division. Make sure you have a piece of paper and a pencil ready to go. Okay, let's first look over here, and you can kind of see how we're going to solve these. We start with the equation n divided by 7 equals 6. We're trying to figure out what n equals. You're going to do the opposite or the inverse of divide by 7. Of course, the inverse of division is multiplying, and the inverse of multiplying is dividing. So since they divide it, we'll multiply by 7. If you multiply the left side of the equation by 7, you have to also multiply the right side by 7. Otherwise, they'll no longer be equal. So again, whatever you do on the left, you must do on the right. So we'll take n divided by 7 times 7 equals 6 times 7. That makes this divide by 7, multiply by 7, cancel each other out, and we're left with just n on one side of the equal sign, which is what our goal is, to have that variable by itself. So those are gone, and then n is going to equal whatever 6 times 7 is, and that will be 42. And why that works is just like if n were a number such as 2, well, let's go bigger than 2. Let's say 14. 14 divided by 7 equals 2. 2 times 7 equals 14. And you're right back where you started. So again, do the inverse. Let's look over here at one more problem. Here we started with w times 4 equals 32. What is the inverse of multiplying by 4? Of course, that'd be dividing by 4. So we're going to add that inverse to both the left side of the equal sign and the right side. It's always important to do it to both sides. So we have w times 4 divided by 4 equals 32 divided by 4. These two cancel each other out, so we're left with just the w on the left, and w is going to equal whatever 32 divided by 4 is, which is 8. So w equals 8, and that's our solution. Okay, so doing the opposite. Now I know that we can look at these problems and we'll probably know this. We could think in our head, what number times 4 equals 32? We're all really good at our basic facts, and we all know that that would be 8. 8 times 4 equals 32. So we realize you can do this in your head, but also remember that you are learning algebra and you're learning a process, and as you get older, you'll be adding on to this process as you solve larger equations, and your goal is always to get the variable by itself on one side of the equal sign by doing the inverse. So again, we would like for you to practice doing what they did and using the 3 lines in order to solve your equation. The line they give you, your answer line, but then in the middle, show yourself doing that inverse operation on both the left side and the right side. Okay, so we're going to start trying some problems on this page. And you can see they've got that middle line where you're doing the inverse set up for you. So if you have a piece of paper or pencil handy, you can work these problems with me. If you get behind, of course, just push pause and you can get caught up. Okay, so move that out of the way. These are the same problems that would be found in our textbook. So let's look at these first 3 together. Again, keeping in mind we're going to do the inverse. The first one is m divided by 6 equals 6. Well, ask yourself, what is the inverse or opposite of dividing by 6? The opposite is multiplying by 6. So if they have divide by 6, I want to add multiply by 6. If you do it to the left side, in order to keep that equal sign balanced, you have to do the same thing to the right side. So we have to take 6 times 6. These two cancel each other out. We're left with just m over here. And m equals whatever 6 times 6 is, which is a basic fact, and that would be 36. You can check yourself by plugging in a 36 up here and seeing if it works. 36 divided by 6 does equal 6. That's true, therefore your answer is correct. The next problem, here we have t times 9 equals 63. I want to do the inverse of multiplying by 9. The opposite of multiplying by 9 is dividing by 9. So I'm going to add that dividing by 9 to both sides. T times 9 divided by 9, and then on the other side of the equal sign, 63 divided by 9. These cancel out, So we're left with just t over there. T is going to equal whatever 63 divided by 9 is, and 63 divided by 9 is 7. One more problem we're going to do together. N divided by 7 equals 4. What's the inverse of dividing? That's multiplying. We want to keep the same number, 7. So we're going to take n divided by 7 times 7. Whatever you add to the left, we also have to add to the right. So since we added that multiply by 7, I'm going to add a multiply by 7 over here. These cancel out. So we're left with n, and n is going to equal 4 times 7, which will be 28. Go back to your original equation and make sure that it makes a true statement. 28 divided by 7 equals 4. So we know our answer is correct. Okay, I want you to write down these 3 problems and then fill in the missing things for us. First we have p divided by 3 equals 6. This is what your next line would look like. Fill in these 2 in your answer. R times 7 equals 49. Here's your second line. You just keep with what you have. R times 7 and 49. Add the inverse to get the answer for R. And the last one, t divided by 6 equals 1. So we still have t divided by 6, putting the inverse on, and then solve. So push pause on your video recorder. Make sure you get this written down and solve those 3 equations. And when you're ready to check, turn the video back on. Okay, for working number 7. Again, we have p divided by 3 equals 6. That's what we start with. P divided by 3 equals 6 over here. Do the inverse. So if they're doing divide by 3, I have to do multiply by 3. Opposite symbol, same number. Whatever you add extra over here, you have to add extra over here. So since we put a multiply by 3, we're going to put multiply by 3 over here. This cancels itself out, left with p by itself. And that equals 6 times 3, which will be 18. So we've solved the equation, p equals 18. Okay, over here we have r times 7 equals 49. R times 7, we're going to put the opposite, the inverse, divide by 7. 49 divided by 7. This light on, make this a little brighter. Okay, then this cancels out. And then we have 49 divided by 7, so that would be r equals 7. Then the last one, t divided by 6 equals 1. So we have t divided by 6 times, doing the inverse, 6, same number, 1 times 6. T equals, this is gone, 1 times 6, which is 6. Make sure it fits. Like again, if we put our 6 up here, 6 divided by 6 equals 1. That makes a true statement, and we know we have gotten the right answer. Okay, now some of your problems, they will give you like this. They'll just give you the equation with the variable, and they'll want you to solve it. And again, we are learning a process that will be used as you get older in algebra, where we want to take our time, get that variable by itself. So we want to include the middle line like we did on these 3 problems. I realize we could probably figure out what these answers are, but we want to make sure we know this process of using the inverse operations. So first we write down r divided by 5 equals 7. Okay, for our second line we start with what we already have, r divided by 5, give yourself some space, equals 7. We have to do the inverse or the opposite of divide by 5. So what is the opposite of dividing? That's multiplying. So put that on both sides. And we want to use the same number. If they're dividing by 5, I want to multiply by 5. Okay, this cancels itself out, left with r by itself, and r equals 7 times 5, which is 35. Okay, next problem. 14 is 3 times e equals 18. Now, I know we're used to seeing that variable first. But remember, that multiplication is commutative, so I can just flip-flop those. So let's just take an extra line for this one and flip-flop your 3 and your letter E. So we'll change this to E times 3 equals 18, which is similar to what we're used to. Okay, rewrite that. E times 3, leave some space, equals 18. Do the inverse of multiplying by 3. The inverse is dividing by 3. Add that to both the left side and the right side. This cancels out. E equals whatever 18 divided by 3 is, which is 6. Go back, plug that number in, make sure it is a true statement. 3 times 6 equals 18. It is. We know we found the right answer for E. And the last one, J divided by 4 equals 8. Okay, so keep your J divided by 4. Do the inverse. What's the inverse of 4? Multiplying by 4. We already have 8 on this side. Whatever we add it to the left, we have to add to the right so that they stay equal and balanced. So since we added a multiplying by 4 on this side, I have to add a multiplying by 4 on this side. These cancel out. We're left with just J, and J equals 8 times 4, and 8 times 4 is 32. Okay, I want you to try these next 3 problems that were found in the textbook we were using. When you think you have the right answers and you're ready to check, turn the video back on. Okay, what we should have did on these 3 would be this. Your next line would look like this. D divided by 3, do your inverse operation, times 3, equals, we already have a 3, so we're going to still have that. Since you had a multiply by 3 on this side, we need a multiply by 3 on the other side to keep things equal. Cancels out. D equals 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, over here we still have C divided by 5 equals 5. Okay, since they were dividing by 5, I'm going to do the inverse, which is multiplying by 5. Multiply by 5. Whatever you do to the left, make sure you do to the right. Cancel out. C equals 5 times 5. So C equals 25 in this case. Okay, here we have a problem similar to what we had up here, where they had the number in front of the variable. Remember, when it's multiplying, not when it's dividing, but when it's multiplying, that's commutative. So it's very simple. You can just flip-flop those 2 factors. So we can change this to R times 2 equals 32. Okay, then we're going to keep R times 2. Do the opposite or the inverse, so do divide it by 2. Since you divided by 2 on this side, we must divide by 2 on that side. Cancels out. R equals 32 divided by 2. If you're not sure what 32 divided by 2 is, you just need to set up a little division problem on your paper. 2 goes into 32, goes in there once. 1 times 2 is 2. Subtract and you get 1. Bring down your 2. 2 goes into 12. 6 times 2 is 12. Subtract and we get 0. So R equals 16. Okay, 4th grade, you're now going to have some problems to work on your own. If you need extra help, go back to the video and re-watch what we gave you so you understand what to do. And good luck and have a great day.